I've been an iPhone user for most of my life, fully locked into the Apple ecosystem, Apple Watch, AirPods, Mac, the lot. But over time, I've started to realise something. I wasn't actually that happy with iPhone, and I was getting quite bored of it. So almost a year ago now, I picked up the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and straight away, something just felt different. And no, I didn't just test this phone, I full on switched to it properly and lived with it as my main phone. Daily use, work, travel, photos, everything. And after all this time, I finally reached a real verdict on the S25 Ultra, what's worked, what's actually surprised me, and one thing that still makes me hesitate recommending this to people. When the S25 Ultra first came out, loads of people called it boring. But I think one thing people are forgetting is that this is the first redesign Samsung's Ultra lineup has ever had. And one of the things that they did was they actually smoothed the corners. For some reason, I just didn't get on with the S24 Ultra. Sure, the curved rails were nice, but the sharp corners really dug into your palms after a while. So I'm glad that Samsung have finally learnt why 99% of phones have got rounded off corners. The annoying thing though with the S25 Ultra is the lack of MagSafe. Now, as you can see here, I've improvised and I've stuck on a MagSafe ring, but it's just not ideal. I can't use MagSafe accessories reliably. It sort of goes over the camera, it's a bit awkward. Compare that to something like the Pixel 10 Pro XL, which has finally got Pixel Snap, which is basically their own version of MagSafe. I can use iPhone accessories like power banks that just snap on, absolutely no problem. Stuff like the MagSafe wallet as well, just snaps on. There's one thing that Samsung can add in the S26 Ultra. Please make it MagSafe or Qi 2. The real star for me though has been One UI 7. I can't understate how big the One UI 7 update is. One UI 6 felt fine, but it was a little bit boring. It made my S24 Ultra feel like pretty much every other Samsung phone I've ever used. But One UI 7, they finally stepped up and nailed it in my opinion. The blur, the cleaner control center, the icon pack. Coming from iPhone, it felt really familiar in the right way. And honestly, I actually much prefer One UI 7 over the liquid glass that I'm now subjected to on the iPhone and macOS. It really just gives me a headache after a while. One UI 7 is really iOS-like, but it also does have the good lock customizability. I'm talking about large icons, my own icon pack that I can change with just a tap of a button, custom gestures and button shortcuts. Once you get used to that, picking up an iPhone again feels really limiting, to be honest. I mean, on iPhone, you can't just do this and have your home screen in landscape mode. Come on, it's 2026 and you can't even do that on the iPhone. What even is this? Now, despite switching from the iPhone, which arguably has the best cameras, some might say, the S25 Ultra has actually been quite good for me. I haven't noticed any difference between the iPhone and the S25. Once you actually pick up one of these phones and use it, you don't actually start caring about where it would look better. You just take a photo and it's good. The zoom on the S25 Ultra is insane. I took it on a trip to the Lake District, I went on a boat ride, and I was so surprised at how far I could zoom in. The video quality was really good as well in 8K. And even when I went on a hike, I zoomed into these tiny people up a mountain. The picture's not great, but it was enough to give me peace of mind that people can actually get to the top and the end was in sight. The front camera though on the S25 Ultra isn't the best. In fact, hot take here, I don't think any front-facing cameras on Android phones are that good. The colours seem to feel off, they're a little bit grainy as well, and some apply heavy post-processing as well, which can make what you see not exactly what you get. For video calls though, it's alright. For the odd selfie, it's good for that I suppose. But wouldn't it be nice if there was a square camera sensor? But yeah, some improvement could definitely go into the front-facing camera. On the S25 Ultra, we've got these chunky camera rings, which honestly haven't aged that well. In fact, compare this phone to the other range of Galaxy phones now, it's starting to look a little bit outdated. However, luckily they didn't come off like some people were fearing when this phone first came out. However, this camera area, I think it's the same on all phones, just attracts dust like crazy. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually use the S Pen in the Galaxy S25 Ultra. In fact, this is probably the first time I've taken it out in months. So honestly, in the S26 Ultra, I wouldn't mind if they removed this thing. I know that's a bit controversial, I know lots of people like the S Pen for some reason, but I'd much rather they used that space for something like a bigger battery. Speaking of battery life, it's actually been alright in the S25 Ultra. It's not amazing, it's not as good as the 16 Pro Max. This definitely lasts a lot longer for me. But that said though, the S25's been alright. You sort of get used to it, it sort of learns how you behave. It's manageable, but for a phone this size, I really hope for something a bit more. And I really hope we see a bigger battery in the S26 Ultra. However, looking at the leaks, it doesn't seem very likely. One of my biggest adjustments with the S25 Ultra, using it alongside all my other Apple devices, has been a little bit of a pain. It's certainly not as seamless as if I was just to use an iPhone. For example, I can't use AirDrop, so I've been using Local Send and NearDrop to move files between Android and macOS. It's a workaround, sometimes it works, sometimes it does let me down. So sometimes when I get frustrated, I just want to plug the phone directly into my Mac, but I can't do that either because I've got to download an extra piece of software, which honestly feels a bit petty from Apple. Why can't I just access the files from the Finder? The S25 Ultra does work well with my NAS though. It can connect directly from the Files app and actually do background backups, which the iPhone can't even do. You actually have to have the app open on the iPhone just for it to back up. The S25 does it without even me thinking about it. The display, however, has aged really well. It's bright, it's colourful, and the anti-reflective coating is just incredible. If you look at it compared to my iPhone, it honestly feels like a mirror in comparison. The only downside though is you're going to need Samsung's anti-reflective screen protector if you want to retain that anti-reflective coating, which unfortunately is quite a cheap thin plastic layer and it actually scratches like mad. One thing that is funny though is that when I bought the S25 Ultra off Samsung's website, shortly after I got an email saying that if I leave them a review, they'll send out a free case and charger. So obviously I did, I got the case and it's not the best to be honest with you. It's got this little loop thing here that you sort of clip out, acts as like a phone stand or a ring I suppose to stop you from dropping the phone. It's not the best case, but the charger was definitely worth it. I find it weird how they don't include a charger in the box, but if I leave them a 5-star review, they'll give me one. Not sure if I'm convinced. Now, I did originally complain about the Android fonts coming from iOS, but honestly I've got used to it now, and you stop noticing it after a while. Samsung's Galaxy AI has been solid in object removal. It's actually genuinely good, and I've actually been using it way more than I expected. And compared to the mess that is Apple Intelligence, Galaxy AI is actually usable. So what do I want from the S26 Ultra? First of all, a bigger battery. I mean, we've had a 5000 mAh battery for years now, so it's about time they maybe looked into silicon carbide or just a larger capacity. Honestly, remove the S Pen if you need to. I know that's a hot take, I know some people might disagree with me, but if you could remove the S Pen, it gives you more room, bigger battery, who knows. Next one is better cameras. The cameras in the S25 Ultra have been the same for years now. It's actually getting quite embarrassing. These cameras are starting to get left behind now by Chinese phone brands and even the iPhone, so please update the cameras for once. And if it wasn't obvious, add MagSafe so I don't have to keep buying these stupid stick-on MagSafe rings. Just include it, call it Galaxy Snap if you must, and I think that would be a welcome improvement. And finally, something that's maybe a bit wishful thinking from me is to get a better front-facing camera. Maybe even using a square sensor like we saw on the iPhones this year, although I don't think it's very likely. The Galaxy S25 Ultra has been the first Samsung phone in a long time that's actually made me feel comfortable leaving my iPhone behind. It's not perfect, but between the design, One UI 7, now One UI 8, and the level of control you get day to day, I actually feel settled and I don't actually feel rushed to pick up my iPhone and go back to it. And that honestly says a lot more than any spec sheet ever could.